The fog comes first, thick and salt-sweet, drifting in from the Chesapeake and swallowing the docks of the Norfolk Navy Yard until the world is reduced to silhouettes and sound. Gulls cry somewhere unseen. Water slaps softly against pilings. Then, out of the haze, a shape begins to form. Steel, immense and sweating with condensation. A gray transport ship glides forward like a ghost returning from another world. Its horn groans once, low and mournful, and the cry startles a cloud of birds into the pale sky. Along the pier, men wait in careful lines. Naval police with stiff collars and pistols at their hips. Medics carrying folded stretchers. Typists balancing clipboards. Photographers lifting cameras, expecting faces hard with hatred or hollow with defeat. They have been told prisoners are arriving, captured in North Africa only weeks before. They expect danger, defiance, perhaps fury. What they see instead feels unreal. The gangway lowers. Boots thud softly against wet boards. And out of the ship's belly comes a procession that looks less like an enemy army and more like a column of survivors from some forgotten disaster. Young men with sunburned necks and sand still caked in the seams of their boots. Gray coats faded nearly white by desert light. Black letters stenciled across their backs. P.W. Prisoner of War. Among them walks Corporal Wilhelm Shaner, 20 years old, a folded photograph of his mother pressed flat inside his breast pocket. Only weeks ago he had crouched behind a broken field radio in Tunisia, clutching his last rounds, still believing Germany would somehow turn the tide. He had been raised on stories of American weakness, of a nation too mixed, too soft, too dependent on machines borrowed from others. Now he stands at the edge of the largest harbor he has ever seen. Cranes roll along the waterfront in slow, synchronized arcs, lifting crates the size of houses as easily as toys. Sparks shower from welding torches. Forklifts glide between stacks of cargo with quiet precision. No one shouts. Orders pass with gestures, nods, movements practiced until they feel like instinct. The air vibrates with a low, steady hum of engines, not frantic, not strained, but confident, like the breathing of something vast and tireless. A dock guard chewing gum points casually with his baton. "Line up there, fellas." The words are not barked. There is no contempt in them. Just routine. Wilhelm glances at the men around him. Enemy property, stamped and catalogued. Yet the guards handle them not as trophies, not as threats, but as tired laborers who have simply arrived late to a long-running operation. On a nearby pier, a brass band rehearses for a Liberty ship departure. Trumpets echo bright and cheerful across steel and water, absurd music at the threshold of captivity. The prisoners shift, unsure how to receive such welcome. Ahead of them waits a passenger train, its locomotive hissing with a rhythm so clean and steady it feels almost mocking. "America runs on this," one guard murmurs to another. Wilhelm hears it, and something inside him falters. As the train begins to pull inland, the harbor slides away, replaced by miles of rail lines vanishing into fog. With every mile, the world outside the iron slats refuses to match the one he had been promised. No ruins. No boarded windows. No blackout curtains. Towns appear whole and bright beneath the morning haze. Flat cars loaded with jeeps. Refrigerated cars labeled meat for the front. Fuel depots steaming gently like patient beasts at rest. The rhythm never stops. For the first time since his capture, Wilhelm feels a deeper shock than fear. How, he wonders, does one conquer a country that produces abundance as casually as breathing? By mid-1943, ships like his arrive weekly. Norfolk, Newport News, Charleston. Thousands of prisoners funnel quietly into an invisible network stretching across the American interior. More than 500 camps bloom behind pine forests and cornfields, rising almost overnight. Barracks built before the trains arrive. Kitchens stocked. Guard towers already casting long shadows. The strategy is simple. America needs hands. With millions overseas, farms and railroads strain. Under the Geneva Convention, prisoners can work. Efficiency disguised as mercy. Inside the camp, life settles into an order both strict and strangely gentle. Reveille at dawn. Roll call in neat rows. Breakfast of oatmeal sweetened with molasses. Trucks carry work details to lumberyards and rail spurs. At night, radios hum through the barracks, swing music floating into the dark. What stuns them most is the food. Hot meat. Soft bread. Vegetables fresh and steaming. In bomb-starved Europe, such meals are memories. Here, even enemies eat well. Wilhelm writes home carefully, choosing words that censors will allow. He describes trains that run to the minute. Factories glowing through the night. Planes overhead every dawn. They build as fast as they fight, he writes. And their order is not forced. It grows from pride. At first, the guards seem ordinary. Men who joke among themselves, who carry notebooks instead of whips. But slowly the prisoners realize something unsettling. Power here does not shout. It functions. One afternoon, Wilhelm watches a convoy of new trucks arrive, olive paint shining beneath the sun. An American lieutenant hops down, checks his clipboard, gives calm instructions that ripple through the column like choreography. No raised voices. No threats. A calm army, Otto murmurs beside him, is the most dangerous. Weeks later, Wilhelm is sent to help near a factory locals call the backbone of the aircraft industry. The building swallows sound and light. Cranes lift bomber fuselages like toys. Wings stretch under fluorescent lamps that never dim. Men and women in identical coveralls work side by side, laughing, arguing about baseball scores while riveting machines that will decide the fate of continents. When Wilhelm drops a sheet of aluminum, expecting curses, an American mechanic simply hands it back and pats his shoulder. No harm done, pal. The word stays with him. News arrives in fragments. Rome. Paris. Bombed German cities. The reports fall into a life that never panics. Supper trays still arrive on time. Lanterns appear calmly when storms cut power. Within an hour, the lights return. No shouting. No fear. Winter passes. Spring of 1945 arrives with the sound of engines testing in clear skies. The Germans watch the last wartime aircraft climb silver into sunlight, a brief reflection of mastery born not from slogans but from patience. We dreamed of ruling the air, Wilhelm whispers. They simply built it. By then, many no longer imagine victory. They study the guards instead. The civility. The discipline without cruelty. They begin to understand that the fence holds them less than awe does. On May 8, 1945, the radio crackles. Victory in Europe. Silence follows. No cheers. Just wind through pine trees. Men remove caps. Someone whispers, "It is finished." Orders for repatriation come quickly. Handshakes replace curses. On departure morning, Wilhelm offers Sergeant Harris the small wooden crane he carved by the stove. "Keep building things," Harris says quietly. "That's what we do here." As the ship carries them back across the Atlantic, Wilhelm watches the American coast fade into haze. When Europe appears again, fires still smolder along shattered ports. But he carries a different image now. Cranes lifting steel in quiet harmony. Guards unafraid of laughter. A nation whose power moves without rage. Years later, working among rebuilt docks in Bremen, Wilhelm tells his son about the morning the fog parted at Norfolk. Our generation learned what greatness means, he says, by losing to it. And the lesson endures, whispered across decades, that the strongest empire is not the one that conquers by fear, but the one that builds so steadily, so confidently, that even its enemies are changed by standing in its shadow.